All right, welcome, welcome. All right, hello everyone. So good to see you. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll give a couple more minutes for additional folks to join us. I think it's always nice to see where everyone's tuning in from. So if you'd like to share where you are zooming in from in the world, you can let us know in the chat. Nice. So we have Arizona and Oregon, the UK, North Carolina. Welcome to some more folks joining us. We're just sharing where we are in the world in the chat while some more people join us today. I love how global our gatherings have gotten. So thank you all for being here. So I am Roshni, and I am the Associate Director of The Well. Stacy, who normally welcomes you, is in Texas right now on a retreat in nature. So I am wearing two hats today of your host and Zoom host. So if you need anything kind of Zoom tech-wise, you can message me in the chat. Okay. Let me make sure I'm good. We have as well closed captioning available thanks to On Being. So you can make that happen at the bottom by choosing live transcript, which is a little bit of that. So welcome to Mindful Poetry. Mindful Poetry Moments is a collaboration of The Well and the On Being Project. Eddie Gonzalez, I see, is here from On Being, our great partner. And our virtual gatherings are also supported by The Hive, the Mercantile Library, and Wordplay. Okay, I said about the closed captions, great. So today we're joined by two special guests. So we have Sonya Verma, who is a yoga and meditation facilitator, an Ayurvedic counselor, and Reiki master practitioner, just lovely human. And she'll be opening our time with a meditation. And then she will pass it off to Haleh Liza Gafori, who is an author and musician and just published a book of translations of Rumi called Gold, and that's from New York Review Books. And she'll lead our discussion of Roshni Goyate's poem, Coconut Oil. And we also have a special little pre-recorded reading from Roshni herself. So I think, oh, and a little framework of our time. We'll meditate, we'll hear the poem, we'll have a discussion. Haleh will give us a prompt for writing time. We'll get about 10 to 12 minutes. We'll come back. Anyone could share if they would like, and then we'll close out with another reading. So the hour will go fast, and I am so glad that you are all here. So with that, I am going to pass it over to Sonya.
Welcome, everybody. For what we're going to do here today, just want you to, for meditation, it's got so many contexts, but really what I love about the space is that it's just here to really connect us as a group and to really start to drop into noticing. So what I'm going to share with you today is just 3 parts. I want us to wake up a little bit, in that we can just kind of awaken a little bit into our bodies through a little bit of a breath practice. So if you're, however you're sitting, if you're sitting cross-legged, you're sitting on the floor, you're sitting on a chair, just feel your feet directly on the ground. Maybe you wiggle your toes a little bit. You sense your spine. Maybe you notice if you're kind of rounding, but a nice soft spine. And really feeling the sensation of the ground beneath you, your feet. And you can either keep your eyes open or closed, but if they're open, just gently open. And nice big deep breath in. So as if there was, the breath was this balloon of the body, and that the skin was the actual skin of the balloon. And what was outside is very much also inside, and that the skin, this layer of the balloon, is this only separation. And you really feel this connection of the feet. And you can take this nice big deep breath in, really moving in the spine a bit. So it's a little bit of a movement in the breath. So almost as if this balloon was expanding throughout your body. And as you exhale, really feeling the breath come in. So we want to go a little quicker just so we can kind of wake up a little bit in the breath and getting a little bit of circulation in the body. So nice deep breath in, gently breathing out. Because I know all of us are going to be seated here for a bit. And I just kind of want to wake us up a little bit here. And you can even move. So if you see me, I'm just kind of moving my chest a little bit forward and back. So there's a little movement in my spine as I'm breathing. And then slowly, just allow your palms to rest wherever it's comfortable for you. And I want you to just notice now, just sensation in your body. Maybe you're feeling a little tired. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more awake. And as you feel into your feet, connecting you into the ground, I want you to sense your heart and this really gentle heartbeat. Maybe it's a little bit more awake, maybe it's not. And if you can, just softly close your eyes. I want you to sense the most wonderful meal you've ever had. Maybe it was a piece of chocolate cake, because that's what's coming into my mind right now. But whatever that meal was that brought you, maybe it was with a family gathering, maybe it was with loved ones. And I really want you to sense that feeling of this most wonderful, delicious meal. And how does that resonate and feel to you? Maybe you're even sensing a bit of the sensation in your tongue. Noticing that feeling throughout your body. And this invitation now for just one more moment, just a visualization practice. So as you sense your feet, and you're still throughout the body, maybe sensing this most delicious meal, be honoring it in the space of gratitude. And that no one here is alone, as in we're all a community of cells, of bones. None of us have come here by ourselves. We all have stories that have come here before us from our family lineages, our ancestors, even the environments that we're here now. And just for another moment, you can start to expand that breath, the small little layer that separates you from the outside and the inside. And as you sense your feet against the ground, connecting you to the earth, and you sense that there is this lovely sky above you, this beam of light of the sun shining down on you. There's an entire community of cells living, moving, breathing, and experiencing you. In this moment of gratitude, of all the stories that made you you. And this thank you. Thank you for the body. Thank you for the cells, the bones, family lineages, ancestors, and all the ways that uniquely allow you to be you. And as if the feet were this lovely roots of a tree really rooting you, this aspect that we are all connected. And really allowing that sensation to expand. And you can even help that and guide that with each breath in and out. And just taking a moment of just noticing what is showing up for you in this moment. This invitation to be curious. What sensations are showing up for you? What feelings? And then slowly and gently, in any way that you like, maybe you move a little bit into your body, you move into your fingers and toes, you awaken back into the room that you're in. And I'm just going to pass this along to lovely Haleh.
I'm waking up, yes. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Sonya, for that lovely meditation and welcoming and gathering us all together energetically. Thank you. Very happy to be here today. Thank you, Ro, for pulling us, gathering us all together too. And thanks everybody for being here. Today, we're going to look at a poem called Coconut Oil by Roshni Goyate. And actually, we're going to start by listening to her recite the poem herself. So let's start there.
Hi everyone, I'm Roshni Goyate. I'm a poet with the collective For Brown Girls Who Write. And today I'm going to be reading you a poem called Coconut Oil, which shows up in this pamphlet of mine, Shadow Work, which belongs in a collection, which is by the collective that I'm part of, For Brown Girls Who Write. Just gonna jump right in and read the poem. Coconut oil. Vatica bottle sits in the bathroom. Contents solidified by London's night. Mum microwaves it to a clear sap, an ancestral ritual improvised. She sits me down, braids unplaited, drags plastic comb through my hair. Ouch, mummy, mummy, not too hard. Pretends my squeaks are not there. Drip, drip onto my invisible scalp. Grip with the palms of her hand. Rub, 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 taming flyaways. Slap, slip onto the slick dark of strands. A soft scent, sweet and buttery, slippery, tinged with metallic sweat of my brow, provokes questions in the playground. Why do you smell so funny? How? The powder red shame of coconut oil spray paints itself onto my skin. I delete it from life like a bad line of code. No chance of it coming back in. When suddenly, this hair oil that gave me such grief comes back for well-being's bright new age. No longer smelling funny, a great white commodity marked up for organic food shops. All the rage.
Okay. Because I love to hear poems twice, I'm going to read it again. And I think, Ro, are we going to put the PDF up? Great. Coconut Oil by Roshni Goyate. Vatica bottle sits in the bathroom, contents solidified by London's night. Mum microwaves it to a clear sap, an ancestral ritual improvised. She sits me down, braids unplaited, drags plastic comb through my hair. Ouch, mummy, mummy, not too hard. Pretends my squeaks are not there. Drip, drip onto my invisible scalp. Grip with the palms of her hand. Rub, 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 taming flyaways. Slap, slip onto the slick dark of strands. A soft scent, sweet and buttery, slippery, tinged with metallic sweat of my brow, provokes questions in the playground. Why do you smell so funny? How? The powder red shame of coconut oil spray paints itself onto my skin. I delete it from life like a bad line of code. no chance of it coming back in. When suddenly this hair oil that gave me such grief comes back for well-being's bright new age, no longer smelling funny, a great white commodity marked up for organic food shops, all the rage. All the rage. So I'm going to comment on the poem on what strikes me, and I want to hear what strikes you all too. So after I share a few thoughts, I'll turn some questions over to the group. So of course, well, I'll start with one of the lines that really struck me was, I delete it from life like a bad line of code. So of course we have this opening that begins very beautifully. I love the clear sap, very earthy, and this ancestral ritual is happening. There's a little bit of pain from the pulling of the hair, but so far, okay. Then we have that playful third stanza where we have the sort of playful alliterations and sounds, drip, drip, grap, grip, grip, rub, 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 slap, slap, slip. And then we come into a change, a turn, where she's on the playground. Why do you smell so funny? How? And that how has a sort of dagger inside of it. It could be, maybe in some occasions, an innocent question, but we know from the rest of the poem that it's actually painful. Oftentimes, you know, the sense that you're othered, the sense that you're considered odd, and how do you smell that way? That how is really takes it over the edge into a kind of aggressive question. And why do you smell so funny? And then the shame, the powder red shame of coconut oil spray paints itself onto my skin. I delete it. So this idea of erasing part of self, erasing the ancestral ritual, erasing her connection to her tradition, erasing wholeness, erasing a sense of self-esteem, perhaps. I delete it from life like a bad line of code, no chance of it coming back in. And then we get to this final stanza, when suddenly the hair oil that gave me such grief comes back for well-being's bright new age, no longer smelling funny, a great white commodity marked up for organic food shops, all the rage, all the rage, all the rage. It's fashionable now to use coconut oil. There's the double meaning. It's a fashionable thing. It's the hip thing to do, to use in the hair. But all the rage and the pain of, and rage with what? Rage with a past, rage at a past of being othered and marginalized, made fun of, humiliated, rage at an opportunistic culture that sees the beauty in the other when it's packageable, right? So it's a sort of capricious and opportunistic culture. So one moment this is unattractive, and now because we can package and commodify it, it's attractive. So there's that sort of that frustration that one feels when noting, you know, cultural appropriation or just, you know, something that you felt ashamed of as a child that you had to hide and now is just being sold. And it's frustrating. And is there rage also at that phase in one's life? Rage perhaps at oneself even, perhaps. I'm not saying that she necessarily felt that, but I can say that there is a sense of frustration with the part of self that doesn't necessarily isn't able at the time to sort of stand up for itself, deletes itself, erases itself for the sake of survival, right? For the sake of sort of not being humiliated. And it's a very natural thing to do, but later in life, one might feel frustration at the self for doing that and for not just standing up for the self. But of course, you know, that powder red shame spray painting onto skin is such a palpable, such a strong image. It's like that shame is tough. It's tough to put down. It's tough to overcome. So yeah, those are some of my thoughts. Also interesting to just note that it's, you know, 6 quatrains with alternating rhyme and sometimes slant rhymes. Does anyone want to share anything that struck them in this poem to start? I'm looking for hand raises, right? Let me see.
There's quite a bit of feedback in the chat. If you're able to,
Oh,
those are also, yeah.
great. Okay, let's look. I'm gonna back up. Yes, that line about code is poignant. Beatrice, I just love the onomatopoeia. Yes, yes. Beatrice, do you want to say anything about that line? Anything else, I mean? You'll tell me if you see a hand raise, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll keep going to poetic rendering of learning, living, being told through hair, but so much more. Yes, fascinating. A whole history of emotion told through hair. Indeed. There's a great movie by Chris Rock about hair, which I highly recommend. I see a hand. Ellen.
Sorry about that. I wasn't fast on the unmute. I just found it so, it made it so much more moving that the coconut oil ritual with the mother is so warm and beautiful. I mean, it has that like child, you know, that child like, oh, mom, ouch, ouch, but it's so intimate and that it's so cruel that that's kind of taken away in the daughter's mind or the speaker's mind on the playground. It just makes it more devastating.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, it's sometimes the most beautiful things that a person feels they need to delete or gets embarrassed by when it's sort of seen by the hegemonic culture and looked down upon. I mean, for me, even the Persian language, when I was a child, I was sort of shy about it. And now I'm completely immersed in it. So let's see, Sonya.
So I have a lot to say about this, but I'll keep it short. So I grew up in, I see that Betty also wrote that she grew up in Appalachia. I did as well. And I grew up from a very similar culture as Roshni did of being from Indian immigrants. And my parents, very much, my mom, would not only put oil on my body, but she would put oil all into my hair. And feeling as an outsider, I have felt like that for so long. And yet now I am literally teaching this stuff. I teach people how to reconnect into this. And for me, and I have come back, it had to take me a long time to come full circle and to even see what that ownership is of what I was feeling. And everyone's going to come into that in a different way. But for me personally, I felt like there was this disconnect of culture, a disconnect of roots. Like I wanted to cut it off. And so to fit into a society. And so for many years, this even language, I mean, it's called a mother tongue. Like language carries the stories of how our ancestors and our families communicate. If you lose that, there's a part that gets a lot lost in translation. And so for me, this coming back home into myself and into lineage and family has been a part of what I feel called to. So I found this poem, just all the feelings kind of rose up because yes, I remember how that I still, there are times even now, I'm in an industry where all kinds of things happen. And so, and I see, interestingly, I'm this personality where I see all points of view, but what I do want to share is that rising up of emotion, sometimes what happens over time is that we bury it. We disconnect from it, we repress it. And it comes off when that Band-Aid comes out. A lot of things can show up in so many ways. And so I found it quite interesting in how this can bring all of those sensations and awareness as you're just reading it throughout. So.
Thank you, Sonya. Yes. Fitting in, the impulse to fit in is such a strong, such a human urge to belong, to belong, to belong. And sometimes we do put aside some of the most beautiful things about ourselves to belong. And so it's interesting to imagine cultures that celebrate diversity, as we're coming into now more so, more than ever. We certainly are. We've certainly made progress as a culture. And we know that that enables people to grow up more whole. Shireen.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry if you can hear the background. I'm distracting my cats with cat TV. But I thought it was the whole flow of it really resonated with me, because it's probably the experience of anyone who is kind of the minority within a particular culture. So it could be through hair, and this is expressed through hair. It could be through the language, the accent. It could be just through the color of your skin. It can be through many different things that we're shaped by. And in that journey, especially when we're young, because we were talking about, wanting to fit in is so important. It's about survival. It's about trying to increase your social currency. So when you're amongst your friends, you want to be like everybody else. And that can change you so much to make where you're ashamed and deleted. Because I've been thinking about a lot of I'm mixed race between black and white, and how coming into adulthood, which is really at 12, and I was going to secondary school, I had to get my hair straightened. Didn't have Afro hair. It was a coming of age thing. And how within the Afro community, the hair is such a thing of kind of like shame, but it's buried so deep, deleted, like it says here, that people wear wigs and they just say, I'm happy to wear wigs and wear all this fake hair. But it shows the damage within the community that has been done just through hair, because even if I spoke to any of my aunties and I'd mention it, they'll be like, no, it's just because I like it. It's so deep. So that line of deleting code, it's like, it's a big thing, and it resonates, I think, on a much bigger cultural and national level for people that live in communities where they're not the majority.
Indeed.
Okay.
Thank you, Shireen. And I love that you said social currency, because this poem does come down in the end to currency. So we're dealing with different types of currency in this poem, the social currency of fitting in. And then, oh, suddenly this becomes a product that's sellable and everyone wants. And so now there's another form of currency. Very interesting. And also code, someone wrote in the comments, I can't find the name at this moment, but code, also genetic code, right? It's a deep, 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 deep thing that's getting deleted. Deb. Did you want to share? Deb Daniel.
And I'm trying.
Oh, we don't have your audio yet.
Okay. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Shireen brought up a good point that some of the cultures that we come from, I'm second generation from Eastern Europe, second generation born here. And there wasn't a lot of not fitting in, although people were very curious about where I came from, and was that a negative thing. That culture itself was an extremely trauma traumatic culture. They were, you're seeing it now in the Ukraine, but the generation that came over to America were, had whole villages wiped out when the Cossacks came in. And going over to dinner at my grandmother's house, who endured this, if you said something like the Cossacks, almost all of the relatives would dive underneath the table, literally, in fear. So the trauma that people have escaped in coming to America is also passed down through generations. So it complicates the issue of finding what is good about the culture that you want to hold on, what you want to leave behind, what is good about American culture, what you would like to leave behind in America. It's a complicated issue.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it makes me also think about how people who are in one culture bearing another culture, how they navigate, as you said, how they navigate, what do they keep, what do they lose? And also the idea that there's a private life and a public life, that there's something almost different going on in the home that one as a child might be shy about, like, oh, the food and the way the food smells, it's different than this and it's different than that, and this is different. The poetry is different, the music is different. And as a child, one can often feel embarrassed and shy about that. So there's this kind of dual character that you're holding and experiencing, which is challenging to navigate and strange and interesting. I remember in one of these mindful poetry moments, Indigo, I believe was her name, said that well, actually now I don't remember, but what I remember gathering from it was that the hyphen in the name is like a tightrope, right? Woo, balancing on that. Josiane, did you want to share? Oh, we don't have your audio yet.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought what was really interesting was I think the code line, but the bridge that you're talking about, the precarity of that is definitely, as I look back at this poem, I think there's actually a lot of tension in it. And I'm thinking about one of the main tensions that I can see in this is actually like ancient and modern. So like in the first stanza, we have the microwave, right? And so that's already an introduction of a new technology. And then there's this like metallic sweat. So we've got like this idea of metal. And then in the next stanza, it's about spray paints, which is a kind of, you think of graffiti, you think of like a modern age thing. And then you've got this code and the idea that you can delete something. And so it's almost like part of the poem is also her fighting between tradition and like technology and the modern age and these new age kind of health food shops and how, and I think this idea of like deleting it, like it's code, it's this idea of like, a technology erases so much of the kind of tradition and nuance and culture and color from it. So there's this kind of like constant pulling back and forth. Yeah, that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, thank you, Josiane. I recognize that there's a couple more people that want to share, but I'm looking at the time and we are actually 5 minutes over when we should be shifting to writing. So we're going to shift to writing now, and we want to hear people share afterwards as well. So we'll have 10 to 12 minutes of writing. And the prompt is, let me just call it up here. Where did my prompt go? Aha, here we go. Okay. And Ro, did you say you wanted to put that in the chat too, or you already did?
Yes, I just put
Oh,
it
you
in.
did. Oh, you did. Okay. Shall I read it aloud?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes. Okay. So I'm going to read aloud what Ro put in the chat. What routines connect you to your family, culture, or ancestors? These could also be connected to food, music, location, and language. How have those routines been received or adopted by others? Write about this experience and any emotions or questions it brings up.
Wonderful. Thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and set our timer. I'm going to give us 8 minutes this time, if that's okay, just so we have a little more time to hear from everyone. And I'll call us back from our writing time when that timer's up.
Thank you.
All right, so that is the end of our 8 minutes. So go ahead and find the end of your sentence or line, and we'll come back together. So we'll move into the sharing portion of our time. And so if you could raise your hand, which is down in the reactions function, or put your name in the chat. Haleh will facilitate calling on people as we go. Oop, hold on. You are muted, Haleh.
Okay, there we go. Okay, Wade, would you like to start us off?
Yeah. How easily I turn away. Any hint, imagined word can tip me onto edge, as if falling would complete my otherness. I reach for the common lies, the water cooler chat, come internet forum, come Facebook screed, come Reddit thread. I pull myself back from the edge as if joining the mob could somehow deny my fact. In later years, I like to pretend that I am not so easily swayed, as if this immunity was somehow more true. And yet I persist as commodified in a warm house, my otherness made safely private.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you. That line about the mob really struck me too. Thank you. Could you just repeat that one line?
I pull myself back from the edge as if joining the mob could somehow deny my fact.
All right, thank you. Rana, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Rana or Rana?
Hi, it's Raina.
Oh, it's Raina. Okay, good.
Yes, hi. Hi. Okay. I am Black, descended from enslaved Africans, captured and carried to the United States. Everything my ancestors birthed, everything they created was co-opted into the commercial machine of white body supremacy. This is not a poem. These are statements, truths, facts. My great-great-great-great-grandmother, Matilda, had jet black hair reaching beyond her behind, which sat out from her back, wide enough to set a teacup on. Great Aunt Louise asked her grandmother, and they said, it's true. We came from an island off the edge of Africa. Matilda produced children who labored first breath to last breath. Even after the last breath, our cells were captured, commercialized, our bones were bottled rather than buried, studied, unwillingly scientific participants for the advancement of humanity. Everything we ever birthed, everything we created, bottled, stickered, cashed out to the highest bidder. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. Thank you so much. Say it, say it. Thank you. And also, I agree, a few people wrote in the chat, our bones were bottled, really struck me too. Katie.
I love a quiet room now. It's jarring to walk into a room full of noise, the TV blaring with news or sports. But this is what I grew up with, the soundtrack of my story set to NASCAR races, the loud engines rev, or the dulcet tones of a golf broadcaster. I don't want this ruckus anymore, this draining melody, this emotion-dulling roar. Give me myself and the music of pen to page, the clicking of computer keys quietly filling my days. Give my ignorance ears and let me hear myself think.
An ode to silence. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Mimi.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Early mornings awaking from a deep slumber, performing personal hygienes with no time to spare. Mother praying, father waiting, then breakfast is served. Hot grits with butter, eggs and toast, washed down with water. Hair pulled and combed, placed in a ponytail by older sister. Gospel music blasting, praising the Lord with no guilt or shame. Waiting to get dressed and leave for church. Church is dismissed. We're on our way in a station wagon full to the capacity. Smaller children on laps while older ones riding on the seat. Arriving home with the preacher behind and family in the distance.
Thank you, Mimi. Praising God with no, well, I wanted to hear that again, with no shame.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Elena.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Haleh. I'm so happy to see you. And I can't stress enough Haleh's book of translations of Rumi called Gold. Awesome.
Thank you, Elena. I'm glad it's in your hands.
A little commercial. Okay. So of course I wrote about food. Adobo. My family comes from the Philippines, Spain, and France. They came here believing in America. Before my mother died, we had hot dogs, hamburgers, roast beef, turkey, and grilled cheese. Americanizing our palates was the agenda of my clan. Yet one little international word made us salivate into a Pavlovian frenzy. Adobo. Chicken or pork, that savory, sweet, fall apart meat with sticky jasmine white rice was the longed for menu whenever my father could and got. Every country has their adobo. My aunt's was sublime. It almost made me speak Tagalog, and I can't speak Tagalog. We spoke Spanish at the dinner table. Tagalog was the code language when my parents had secrets. Adobo, a link to my past. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Nina.
We're a chain of locks where mothers are the only ones who hold the keys of knowledge. The rest of us walk around with the gaps. It's not that we're secretive, we just don't ask the right questions. So only mothers know their daughters, only mothers know their sons. That's it. Short.
And powerful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oksana.
Sorry. Oops. Sorry. I guess I was trying to type something in the chat. Oh, wait a minute. You can't see me. Okay. Thank you so much. Let me see. I gotta find my phone. Okay. This season of transition, relocation back to Portugal, routine is non-existent. The shedding has begun since last year, December. While winter brought nostalgia, inexplicable tears, dancing waltz, odd times, 1 o'clock a.m., not the time of hour for waking my limbs out of dormancy, that it was inevitable that a baby, perhaps a tiny puny fetus, was growing nowhere inside my belly. I felt so strongly as my days were dismantled or torn apart. The ligaments connecting my internal organs, nature basking, providing shade of sunlight, oxygen were Ancient thoughts were wild and free without judgment. A hint of salt to heal deep wounds were talking conversations with mom, Portuguese, beijos, carinho, abraço, feeling plucked like a flower and comforted by Abbas. I can see the forest from the tree. Do you wait for me? Do you wait for me? Do you wait for me? My evergreen. Thank you.
Thank you, Oksana. And thank you for bringing your beautiful voice in two ways into the piece. Thank you. Very touching. Troy.
Thanks. This is called the family prayer. From before language came to me, sitting in the wooden high chair, strapped in with sweaty, chunky legs, slipping on peas and bananas. The family meal would not begin until hands were folded and heads were bowed and prayers were uttered in reverence for what was shared or in a plea for enough or direction or permission by way of blessing. This practice repeated before every meal, and then after dessert was served, a reading from scriptures, and as we grew older, commentary, discussions, and permission by way of acknowledgement and more prayer. What began as nest grew to feel like cage, embarrassment as any teenager might about family otherness, followed by grief, and then exile, and then curiosity. For years, it felt that the only way back to family was to fawn into a life of asking for permission or granting it. But the nest swarms and forms around you anyways, even meals with no one to pray to. And today, my children have all the permission I could imagine, but no familiarity with prayer or scripture, and I wonder if my permission is home enough for them. Thanks.
Thank you, Troy. What began as nest became cage. Very, very moving. Thank you so much. Sylvie. And Sylvie will, oh, I'm sorry, because there is another line, another hand, but I did get the message that we have time for one more share because we do have to end at 4. Sylvie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Hello. Okay, so saying buenos dias to strangers in the lift, washing your teeth after every meal because God forbid if you encounter with bad breath, lightning may actually strike you on a sunny day. Showering every day, every morning, regardless of what you're doing, you might actually be banished if you found smelling like anything but crispy clean. Usually we are called extra. The body doesn't need to be washed every day, they say. Try telling that to a Colombian grandma and watch her cuss you out for enjoying being around filth and dirt. The music, those nice salsa drums that always manages to put you in a dancing mood. You want to clean the house? Salsa. You want to get cooking? Salsa. Getting ready for a cute day? Some salsa. Family gathering? Don't forget to put some salsa. Otherwise, they will never forgive you or forget you. Epa la rumba, todo es rumba, rumba, rumba. All the laughter, all the hair flicking, flipping around the dance floor. Check the moves out. Don't you dare to blink and miss them. It's a work of art, or is it art itself?
Woohoo! And that was the poem was dancing the salsa too. Thank you, Sylvie. And I know Ro is going to close us out. I just want to say one thing that Katie brought to mind in her Ode to Silence, which was more than that, but Marilyn Nelson's line, poetry emerges from silence and leaves us in silence.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you all for sharing. Just a little kind of housekeeping before we hear the poem once more, before we leave. We will have 2 more gatherings this month, so next Wednesday and the Wednesday following. I will follow up with an email with the recording from today, how to get in touch with Haleh and Sonya, and links to our next gatherings. And also Haleh will be coming to Cincinnati July 14th. So for a reading at the Woodward Theater. And so if you're local, we hope to see you. If not, we're figuring out if virtual, how to share that as well. I had one more. Oh, your poems that you wrote today, we would love to share in a blog post on our website with the recording. And so when I send the follow-up email, you can send that to me. I think that is all of my announcements. So I'll hand it back to you, Haleh, for the final reading.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to Roshni Goyate for the poem, Coconut Oil. Vatika bottle sits in the bathroom, contents solidified by London's night. Mom microwaves it to a clear sap, an ancestral ritual improvised. She sits me down, braids unplaited, drags plastic comb through my hair. Ouch, mummy, not too hard. Pretends my squeaks are not there. Drip, drip onto my invisible scalp. Grip with the palms of her hand, rub, taming flyaways, slap, slip onto the slick dark of strands. A soft scent, sweet and buttery, slippery, tinged with metallic sweat of my brow, provokes questions in the playground. Why do you smell so funny? How? The powder red shame of coconut oil spray paints itself onto my skin. I delete it from life like a bad line of code. Now I'm emotional. No chance of it coming back in. When suddenly this hair oil that gave me such grief comes back for well-being's bright new age, no longer smelling funny, a great white commodity marked up for organic food shops. Ha, all the rage, all the rage.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Haleh and Sonya, for being with us and facilitating today. And thank you all of you for being here. Hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you all. Stay in touch.